Welcome to another episode of Creating Cultures That Outperform. I'm Frank Wander, the CEO and founder of People Productive, and I'm here with Terry Mays, our certified culture engineer. I don't know if you've been following this series, but we've been talking about organizational design, and it is an art. And today we're going to be covering episode 4, which is governance and continuous improvement. People throw our designs out there and then they don't do anything until another major redesign is needed. They typically don't tinker with it. And we want to talk about how important it is, especially given the rate of change in companies today. So, Tara, why don't you just fire off your thoughts here?
You are so spot on with this topic. I think it's very relevant for where we are in this age of digital transformation. Everybody is doing something with AI. It's brand new for all companies. Everybody is trying to figure out how to best embed it into everyday practices. Everybody is looking at how can we better use our data so that we learn more about our data and we're able to better use it in our business activities. So this is a hot topic right now. And for organizations that are doing this old way of org planning where they just kind of set it and forget it, they're going to fall behind because things are changing too quickly to have that kind of an approach to your org design. You really do need to be reevaluating pretty frequently whether or not you have the right people in the right roles, the right people with the right information and skill sets, because things are just changing so fast. New roles are popping up. You just really need to be able to be flexible and agile, so to speak, with your org design. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think it's vital, and, different parts of the organization are reorganizing all the time. They're adding new units. They're bringing in new people. There's new projects and programs starting up. Things are in flux. And so it is super important to not just take the org design you have. And if you followed this series, in the first episode, we went through the different org models you can have. And very clearly in this environment, you want to have a federated organization. You want people embedded into each other's organization, working as closely as they possibly can. That works the best. Then we went through in episode 2, how do you operationalize, an organizational design? And then we did roles and responsibilities. And what you find is that all of this stuff starts to decay over time.
Right.
Things change. And a lot of org design is left unfinished. People never get the roles and responsibilities correct, at least from what I've seen over time. And so that's a real problem. And that's certainly something that you've got to be on top of more than ever, given the transformation that is going on in every company.
That's right. Even when our org was pretty static, things hadn't been changing as much as they're changing now. I've been in IT more than 30 years, and it feels like now things are changing at a pace that's just like light speed compared to the way things changed 30 years ago when I was in school and starting out in IT. Things just didn't change this fast. But now I've noticed in the last 5-10 years, things have just been escalating. I mean, extremely fast. So to think that you can get it right the first time, so org design is not going to be right the first time. You want to make sure that you're doing some checks to make sure that you're continuously improving your org design to stay relevant in the marketplace, to make sure you're taking advantage of the latest and greatest technologies. You've got to have people with very agile mindsets. So to be able to change and to do one thing in this month and then be able to flex and change and do something else the next. You want to have that type of organization where you can move at the speed of light because things are changing so rapidly. And you want to make sure that you're taking the time to train your resources. I can't stress that enough. Make sure that people are adequately equipped to handle the new roles that they're being asked to step into, because that's just the other side of, just setting people up to fail. You don't want to put people in that position where they really have not been adequately trained to handle the new roles and the new technologies and all of the things that's happening in so many areas, not just from an IT perspective, but in general, things are just changing fast. And so you want to have some tools available for your resources where they can go in and do some quick learning and
Mhm.
come up to speed very quickly, because there are no SMEs in a lot of these areas. So with data and AI, people are just developing into being a SME, but those SMEs cost a lot of money. So if you want your organization to be able to move and to take advantage of some of these latest and greatest technologies, you're going to have to raise up some SMEs in your organization that know your data, people that can learn the new technologies and bring the two together, because you won't be able to just go and get a resource that already knows how to use all these different tools and that fully
Yeah.
understands
Not for a
your
while.
not for a while. It's going to be a while before we get there. And those resources are going to come at a premium, a high premium.
Oh, they're going to be a fortune.
Yes. So you want to make sure that you're thinking about that now and don't wait for, another year or two to go by before you start thinking about how can you develop some in-house SMEs and some of these technologies with AI, for example, or with data and analytics. You want to make sure you're raising those folks up now. And actually, they should have already been in progress because, like I said, things are just changing so fast.
Yeah, it's lightning. It's certainly the fastest in my career. I've never seen things move at this speed. And companies are saddled with a legacy of stuff that they're dealing with. And that legacy is very time consuming. And they didn't really invest over time. They've got a lot of tech debt. So you've got kind of all the modernization stuff that probably has to take place still. You're changing all the jobs, roles, and responsibilities. You're looking at how AI impacts everything. And so the ownership of who owns what in these organizations is really very important. Who owns updating the strategy as these things come along? Who owns updating the organizational design to put in the new roles and responsibilities? How are you communicating that out to everybody? People still need to know how to navigate the organization. And as new things come in and you don't do the updates to your organizational model and all the roles and responsibilities, things get blurry. People don't know who owns what. And at the end of the day, this is about productivity. This is about creating an efficient, smooth, well-run organization. PwC just came out with its 27th annual CEO survey. And what they found is that over 40% of CEOs think if they continue on the current path, their company won't be there in 10 years. And they also feel that 40% of the work people do is just a waste. They're wasting time in meetings. They're going very slowly. And it's the truth. And so you got to look at org design as an opportunity to really fine tune what you do, how you do it, how people collaborate, who owns what, where are the boundaries, how are you keeping it current. You got to update the frequency with which you keep it current because it's changing so quickly. And that's
Yeah.
really what's happening.
Yeah. You've got to have a very rigorous way of assessing your organization's health. You need some KPIs to help you understand whether or not your organization is in the right state, that you've got the right people in the right roles, that you're able to meet the needs and the demands of your end users. Because if you've not assessed your organization recently, you probably don't have the right roles. You probably don't have the right resources to meet the needs of where we're going as all of these companies. Everybody is in some state of change right now. So make sure that you're assessing your organization's health and determining, do you have the right people, and put in some action plans on how you're going to meet the needs. How are you going to bridge that gap between the resources you have and the resources you need? Because 9 times out of 10, organizations don't have all of the resources that they're going to need for this complete digital transformation. It's going to require some training plans. It's going to require retooling and bringing in or making time available for resources that are high potential resources that these people would be great in these new roles, but you're going to have to take them off of some of this legacy activity that they're working on so that they can focus and learn and develop into the person that you need them to be later. That's going to be a delicate balancing act, because you've got to have people that can literally stand in the role that they're in now and project themselves into the role that they're going into and do both well.
Yeah. And when you say do both, it could be do 8 things well, because you're facing a situation where there's a lot
Right.
of downsizing going on, right? And
Right.
companies are reevaluating personnel and roles. You've got all the AI changes coming in. And let's face it, one thing companies aren't really good at is demand management. There's not a company we survey where they do demand management really well. So they're going to end up getting rid of people. They're going to dump those responsibilities on other people. They're not going to update the org chart to show who owns what, because they don't have anybody there to do it. They're going to bring in all the new work and activity, and they'll dump that on other people. I think it's, if not done well and managed in a very thoughtful way, so that you're starting to eliminate responsibilities, however you do it, and start to fine tune things that you do, it's just going to be a complete mess, because there's too
Yeah,
much happening at the same time, Tara. Just too much.
it is. And it's not easy. So
No.
what's happening now is quite complicated. You've got a whole transformation that's happening. I mean, even if you think about just with these autonomous vehicles, if you just think about that space and what's happening with self-driving cars and people moving from these gas powered cars to electric cars, just in that space alone. If you think about that, I work in automotive, so that's kind of near and dear to my heart. But if you just think about that one space that's changing and how it's changing so rapidly, that in and of itself is complex. And then you layer in all the things that are happening in security, for example, where companies are now realizing that we can't just isolate security to IT. Security has to be thought about in every aspect of the company, because how many companies have fallen prey to some ransomware attack?
Well, 70% of
IT
all
was isolated, or security was isolated to one aspect of the company.
70% of all ransomware attacks are done through humans. I mean, that's really what's happening. So humans are the biggest vulnerability in every company. It's been that way for quite a
Yeah,
while, no question. I
yeah,
I think, look, the world is changing. You're going to have to really think about how to keep your organizational design continuously updated, make sure people get informed. Don't make this the lowest priority item on the list. It just creates confusion. Nobody knows who owns what, where the boundaries are. Things aren't optimized to actually flow and collaborate well. So this is really important. I mean, this has been a very, very good series. You should look at all 4 episodes. It gives you a wealth of information, and these are things you should be thinking about at this point in time, given the transformations that are going on in every company. And it isn't going to slow down. It's going to continue to accelerate, because AI is bringing in new competitors and new changes. You're going to have AI, the AI enabled enterprise, somebody from the ground up going, well, if we're going to reinvent what an insurance company is and we're going to start building it with the AI from the ground up, what will we look like? That's the new competitor. What do you do about that? It's kind of off topic. Maybe we'll do an episode on AI at some point, Tara. I don't know. We'll have to
yeah.
think about it.
I think that would be a great one.
Yeah.
There's a lot happening in that space, and so I think people would love to hear about it.
Yeah.
Great
I,
series.
I think it would be absolutely dynamite. So anyway, we're here every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. I hope you're able to join us. We're still planning out what our next series is going to be on. We don't have an announcement today, but whatever it is, we'd love you to join us. So thanks for coming here, and